What up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. We have a special guest. My man, Mr. Tim Rogers, the prospect guru, has joined us today. You can follow him on Twitter at TimRogers2080. Today, we're talking all things Dodger prospects. We're going to talk on the Dodgers postseason. Is this team ready for a deep run? But, Tim, thanks for joining us today, my man.
Oh, this is great. Thanks for having me on, Doug. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, we know that when it comes to prospects, you are second to none in this game. We're going to dive into some of these prospects, some of the risers this year, some sleepers. We're going to kind of just do the whole prospect mix and talking about some of these other guys kind of going deeper into the minor league level. I want to talk about Nick Frasso because Frasso is someone people say he's got frontline starter stuff. You got just electric stuff out there, but just kind of what's your read on Frasso and just his upside?
Yeah, the right-handed Alex Wood, as I like to call him, his mechanics are kind of funky. He hides the ball pretty well with doing that. Yeah, the stuff is totally electric. My issue, or the issue really is every year he gets hurt. And so I don't, being a starter in the major leagues is a big thing. He's about the same height as Bobby Miller and probably weighs about 70 pounds less. I mean, just being honest. The build's kind of interesting. He's still athletic. He's very athletic. He doesn't look like an athlete, but when he's out there, but he is athletic, and the stuff, the movement. It's the video game movement you see. We had talked about this, Frasso or Hurt, and I said Frasso because I thought just because of his weird mechanics. And it's still a possibility. Never know. But I like where he's coming from. We will see him in LA next year. I don't be surprised he's on the opening day roster. I don't know if it's going to be as a starter. I think in the minor leagues, there's a lot of piggybacking going on. A lot of 3-4 inning guys, and then another guy comes in. Frasso's done a lot of that. Don't be surprised if next year there's a two-headed monster in the fifth hole for the starting rotation with Kyle Hurt and Kyle Frasso.
Interesting.
Nick Frasso, not Kyle Frasso. Sorry.
Yeah, no, interesting. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think next year we'll see what they're able to do in the free agent market. It's a lot in flux for this team. I think it's going to be a very, very new team next year as far as the identity of. I think they're going to skew a lot younger, but yeah, I mean, Frasso, I think he's the next guy that's going to get an opportunity and impress out there. And it's been really exciting just to see some of these guys emerge. And it feels like he's kind of got next right now. Want to get a quick update, though, on my guy, Diego Cartaya, right? Really was the best year for Cartaya. But where do you think everything stands right now for him?
I like the fact that people are starting to discount him, move him down the prospect list a bit. You've met Diego. You've had him. Your interview with him was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked with Diego a few times. He's a good dude. Really a good guy, and he's actually very humble. He knows what's going on, but he's still a young guy. The talent's there. He's so strong. I mean, he has that not everyone has. Where when he hits the ball, you hear it. They have a catcher like that named Theoron Lorenzo. Same thing. You like, I need to go watch
different
this
sound.
Yeah, it is different. It's the Mike Trout, Shohei type sound. Or Max Muncy sound, right? It's just it's
that
different.
Thump, that thunder.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And so that's there. It's a learning season for him. It's kind of I know that, man, that 2021 after 2020, because he only played like 31 games in 2021, that hurt after not even being able to play in 2020. So I think there's some development issues just in terms of slowdown with that impacted him. I think he cares so much about his game. He's you see the stuff on Instagram, and what's he working on? He's working on trying to get the balls in the dirt and everything like that. He knows what he needs to work on. I still hold him in super high regard. I believe the Dodgers do too. I believe that those lists, they can do everything what they want with their lists, and they do a good job, and they're fun. But the Dodgers have their own list, and I think Diego's still high on it.
Yeah, and look, exactly. I mean, these guys, And a lot of these people that work for Baseball Perspectives or whatever it is, I mean, they'll tune in for a couple of weeks, write their piece, and then move on to the next guy, the next system. I think you really have to take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to these prospects. I mean, look at Bobby Miller. I mean, was he going out there trying to strike out guys and be efficient and effective every single start, or did they have him working on stuff? And like you said, he's working on balls in the dirt. That's going to cause stress at the plate, right? Trying to continue to round into form. I think Diego Cartaya, he strikes me as someone that if he did get his opportunity, he's got that certain star power where it just the light turns on when you throw him at the big league level. So yeah, I would not sell my Diego Cartaya stock. Absolutely not. But the top prospect, Dalton Rushing, another guy that hits with power, another guy that's continued to ascend. Just what's your read on him? How expectations, what do you think his ceiling is, his future with his organization could possibly be?
Yeah, he did deal with some concussions this year, which impacted his numbers greatly. He really struggled after coming back from that. Yeah, I saw him a lot last year. The guy he really does slug that ball. He's not that tall of a guy, but he's got the good. He's strong. He's an improving catcher. At Louisville, he was behind the number 1 pick, that Henry Davis guy, and so he only played really half a year at Louisville as their catcher. He did play a lot of first base. He plays at a pretty good first base. Who knows? Maybe even I haven't seen it yet, but why not third base? I mean, he's got the arm. With the bat, he's a righty thrower, lefty hitter, and the numbers were down probably where after people saw him hit like 7 million at Rancho. For him to he was hitting in 260s, 270s. It's there. It's a good second season. It's good for him. I mean, losing some time to the injury obviously hurt, but just to get that first full professional season in will be good. And he got it at high A the whole season. And so next year he should be full season in double A and maybe gets a cup of coffee in triple A, because all of a sudden there seemed to have been gridlock, and now the Dodgers are really pushing some of these guys, and I like to see it. And we've seen it with the pitchers, obviously. Some of it's out of necessity, just everyone's arm falling off. But now we see them push the pitchers. If for some awful reason Will Smith somehow gets hurt, or he somehow leaves in 2 years as a free agent, they got to be ready for that, because we all love Austin Barnes. He's not a number 1 catcher. He's a great backup, team leader, part of one of the 5 people in the Joe Kelly Fight Club. If you've read the book, so that's important. That's right, i.e. strong. And then they have Hunter Fiducia back there that they don't seem to want to do anything with, which really upsets some of us, including myself. Even though I'm a believer in Hunter, but the lower levels, Diego and below, there's too many.
Just so much. So do you see them as potential trade chips in the future? Because you can't keep all these guys. You can't change all their positions. It feels like Dalton Rushing is a guy, we look at his numbers, kind of gets some Max Muncy vibes, a little Max Muncy-ish as far as the low batting average, but the higher OPS, 15 home runs this season. But yeah, just what is your take on just replacing Will Smith one day if he doesn't sign his extension? We know this organization, it feels like they're not going to retain any of their talent. They're happy to let him walk and join another organization. Yeah. But do you think they just kind of keep this surplus, and hey, if a name becomes available, they just have a treasure trove, and if you want this guy, we go to this position, and just kind of keep all these guys warm in case you want to deal them?
Yeah, I think they do that. There's so many guys that are young. I mean, Lorenzo just turned 20, and he hit 24 home runs. So, and he hit one tonight too in the playoffs for Rancho, a switch hitting catcher, but he's better from the left side. And then Jesus Galiz, they're loaded with that. But not all of them are going to work out. We do know that. Some of them will move on. Yainer Fernandez is another guy. So there's just too many.
Yeah.
And there's more coming. Believe it or not, there's more. They have the Venezuela catching pipeline flowing like you wouldn't believe. I believe half the catchers in the organization are from Venezuela. I'm pretty close to that.
I'm pretty sure Will Smith is Venezuelan. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
He looks like it.
Absolutely, right? So now I got to talk about your guy, Josue DePaula, okay? Josue DePaula. So this is someone who excites me because it feels like all we talk about is pitching prospects and catching prospects, right? But this is someone who you look at the numbers too. I mean, the walk rate is high. This guy takes his walks. I mean, he's someone that I think is going to grow into more power, but just kind of what's your overall assessment of him right now and his potential?
Yeah, God gave him a great gift of eyesight. It is amazing. He and the lower A umps are, they are what they are. They're in lower A for a reason. There's usually only 2 of them in a game, so they kind of have to work harder than most. But there are so many calls, and in my view, half the time is from the side. But there's balls that's just like, oh, that looked like a strike, and it's a ball. And it's just Josue has that really good eye. I got to throw the name out there. It's a Juan Soto eye.
Wow.
Yeah. The one, the power hasn't come yet this year. I think he's only hit 1 this year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
He's only been 18 a couple months. He's 6'3". He has a lot of there's a lot of athleticism in his family. I think Stephen Marbury is a relative of his. There's a couple others too. I did have a chance to interview him a few months ago now when he first came up. I like watching his at bats because it's not, he doesn't have that thump. It's different. It's to watch more of an artist up there because no matter how much Juan Soto's on a different team. I can't stand him in that ugly uniform. I liked him a lot better when he was with the Nationals. But you got to admire the at-bats. I like to watch that dude hit. He's an artist. And so with DePaula, it's kind of the same thing. Watching him in BP, he is working the opposite field. And when I talked to him afterwards, he goes, yeah, I'm working on it. And then there's a surprise thing that I really didn't. There's 2 things, actually. One is he is fast. He's been stealing bases. I asked him straight up, man, are you fast? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm pretty fast. The other thing he told me, though, is on an outfield throw, it was clocked over 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
Now that's with the momentum, but still, he's 18. And he was a high school pitcher. He did a lot of that. So so he did throw over 100 miles an hour from the outfield. And so there's a lot of athleticism there. The power, I think, will come. 6'3", still pretty thin. Who knows how he's going to grow? Yeah, hope he doesn't, grow like, a Jock Peterson, Juan Soto body where, it's all low side, and which will start diminishing your speed. So hopefully he can, keep working hard. That's obviously a key. I think there's some of these guys that are just so natural, like a Miguel Vargas and DePaula. They have to make sure that they keep working on that hitting game because those pitchers are good.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely just making those incremental improvements to having success against better pitching. That's kind of the evolution. But sounds to me that pretty much the sky's the limit for this guy. Multi-time All-Star, right? I mean, this is someone who I think the way you describe him, based on what I've read, what I've seen from him, it feels like he has the physical tools to just be one of those foundational players for your organization. If everything breaks right, you look at where he's ranked as far as the overall prospects list. He's starting to go up at 7. Doesn't have a picture next to his name on MLB Pipeline. It feels like it's kind of one of those situations, Tim, where the trade deadline rolls around. Not many people know too much about this guy, but the organizations, they might treat him like a 1, 2, or 3 in an organization, because that's a different when there's actually trades made, and how one organization values another team's prospects is different from every organization. He feels like one of those players where, okay, if you're gonna make a big move, a splash move, we want that guy. We don't care what MLB Pipeline or Baseball America Perspectives has him ranked, because we know internally how good he has the potential to be.
Yeah, and I try to guess that, right? And so I actually have a top 3 that I think is the Dodgers' top 3. And it's not in order, but DePaula is one of them. The other 2 are Maddux, Bruns, and then Yoendry Vargas. They signed him last year's international free agent, shortstop.
Interesting.
Just turned 18. Bruns has been really good, man. The improvement, At Rancho, it doesn't seem like they care about strikes. I'm just being honest. I saw a game where Maddux hit 4 guys in one game, and then 4 other guys got plunked by other pitchers. And it wasn't even a fight. It's like, what happened? But they don't seem to really be focused on it. It's focused on, working on your stuff, developing those pitches. And now all of a sudden, he goes out there and he'll throw 4 innings. He'll strike out 8 to 9 guys. Young left-hander, 97, 98, dude. 97, 98 with
he got that curveball, the sweeper. I mean, he's got all the pitches in that. He's got that fastball, that carry on it. No, this guy, and look, we're gonna need another lefty at some point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that unfortunately he's hopefully he's not gonna go, oh, I got pressure. You don't want that, because I think he felt a little bit as that number 1 pick, but he's a pretty quiet guy. He's a really nice kid. And I think that he's kind of going. He's just growing up. That's part of it. These guys. Can you imagine? Someone gives you, Doug. I'm sure you wish someone would have given you like $2 million when you came out of high school.
I would have loved that. It'd been great.
Yeah, it would have been cool. And what's it gonna do? Is it, all of a sudden you're thinking about going to college, because I'm sure he was college bound. He's a smart kid. Now all of a sudden you're in Arizona. Then you're someplace called Rancho Cucamonga. Now he's in Michigan. So there's a lot of growing up. I mean, all these guys go through that, and all of them handle it differently.
Yeah, I think you kind of feel in this organization when they identify their guys that, yeah, if the name comes along and it's a Mookie Betts or someone of that tier, maybe we'll have the conversation, right? A Josiah Gray, a Gabriel Ruiz. But then there's some like the Walker Buehler types, even Cody Bellinger, guys that were mentioned in trades multiple times that they said no, off limits. Bruns feels like one of those guys that they see as someone that could be someone that pitches for the organization for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They know the value of a left-handed pitcher. I mean, 97, 98 curveball sweeper. So I definitely feel like they're committed to him as a player, as one of their more coveted players in the organization. You just kind of get that feel for certain players in this organization. I think Miguel Vargas was that heading into this year. I mean, I don't think they're as invested in Michael Busch, right? I mean, it just feels like there's certain players that you want to develop to possibly use as trade chips, and ones that you want to say, okay, we wanted them to be a part of our organization for years to come for various different reasons. But yeah, one thing I want to ask you was, which player this season at the minor league level has impressed you most with their growth?
I'm gonna go. It's between Aaron Lorenzo and Peyton Martin. Peyton, and it's kind of weird. The reason I would just go straight up Peyton, but dude pitched most of the season as an 18-year-old. So. And he kind of started off really well and continued to do well. And I think they just shut him down. He was like a 17th round pick. And this guy's outstanding. Last time I talked to him, he was getting real close to he's trying to hit 100. I wish they'd stop worrying so much about that, because their arm's valuable, and I don't want to see that TJ happen to him. But he didn't seem 18. Just carries himself well, seems very mature, has a little bit of arrogance in a good way, going kind of disappointed that someone gets a hit off him. I kind of like that. But Lorenzo, most people hadn't heard of him last year. The only reason I'd heard about him because I wrote some stuff on my site about some highlights of games, and then I saw him in spring training. Really, just a real friendly guy. He was one of those guys who wanted to pose for pictures, and he's just a kid. And then I watched him hit, and I heard him hit, and it's like oh, and I was really excited when he got to Rancho. He started hitting right away. We actually have an interview with him in Spanish, but when I've talked to him, I asked him, hey, we're just one-on-one. And this is not double secret stuff. You better lefty or righty, and he's a better left-handed hitter, and it's obvious. But he has a switch hitting catcher. Bring it. And he's got 20 plus home runs. Led the PCL in home runs this year, and still is 20 years old. I call him the babyface assassin. He's also a top-notch food critic. He likes to cook.
Cool.
Just the little things. Please, someone go listen to that on
Yeah,
our
we'll definitely
YouTube
drop the link
channel.
down below for sure.
Yeah, and then the steal. I'm gonna just drop real quick. The steal of the draft for the 2023 draft is Jake Geloff.
Oh yeah, about to ask you about him just right now.
That's our third baseman. 2026 at the latest.
Yeah, I mean, he just had a great week with the Quakes, hitting 300, 3 home runs. I mean, this guy, see the potential. I was talking to someone who runs a draft podcast, and he's like, that's the guy. That's going to be the guy for your organization. Super high on him. Great character, great hit tool. So, yeah, it's great to see him hitting the ground running right away. So, one more. I got to ask you this every single time, Tim. What is your hottest Dodgers prospect take right now?
The hottest Dodgers prospect take is I'm going to think about changing the name of my channel from Dodgers 2080 to Dodgers 2090 because Kendall George has 90 grade speed.
Kendall George is him, man. I'm telling you, guy can fly. Guy can fly.
Oh, good Lord. I saw him. He stole a game last week.
I saw that on Twitter, on the X now, man. Yeah, he's someone. I'm glad they made that pick. What a man. He's someone. Man. He's one of those guys where if he gets it to this level, he continues to ascend. Instant fan favorite.
Oh gosh, yeah. Still got braces on. I mean, dude, he's still 18. First pick. Again, really nice guy. There's some. Stephen Douglas has an interview with him. He's. Yeah, unfortunately, when I was there, he didn't start, but he got it put in the lineup later because someone, got hurt or something like that, and then stole the game by stealing home. This speed is, I love watching those guys run the bases, and yeah, Dodgers 2090. At least
gonna change it. Do you have a comp for me for George?
They like to say Juan Pierre. He's fast.
I was about to say. I mean, Juan Pierre was a good base runner, but he's not that kind of speed.
And they only say that because he's a little slight. He's only 18. He's going to grow. There's more growth there. I don't know. That comp is a rough one because I keep landing on Pierre, but it's not Pierre because I think he's going to have more power. Because then again, you and I have more power than Juan Pierre. And I love that guy too. But Kendall's a center fielder for sure. He's going to cover obviously just a ton of ground, so you don't to get that type of speed in center field and covering that extra ground is going to be fantastic. And then just having a guy that's top of the order, it's just a matter of, hey, can he get on base enough to take advantage of these rules? I mean, Doug, do you think without these new rules they take Kendall George that pick when he was supposed to be third or fourth round?
I mean, I was talking about that a few weeks ago. The fact that this is going to be the next generation of baseball, right? You're going to have to try to play within these rules and trying to find an advantage. And I think, too, when you look at his swing, it's compact, it's consistent. I think it's built for just consistent contact is king style hitting. And then you add the fact that you put the ball in play, you show those wheels and you really play to your strength. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely something that factored in. I think that they tried to go with a player that could get the most value out of, right? I don't think they were focused on, okay, we're going pitcher. Okay, we're going this. I think they went, okay, let's draft the player with the most upside, a younger guy that we can mold. And I think, yeah, it's kind of great to see the Geloff, the Kendall George. I love what they did during this draft.
I do too. Yeah, and a lot of those guys have been coming through. Again, the Dodgers really focus on drafting high character guys.
That's important. It really is. I don't think that can be stated enough. I mean, I really look at the Padres. I mean, I think that's something that blew me away. Just kind of covering this team, really kind of being in the mix. Is you talk to all these younger players. I mean, they're respectful. They give you great answers. You can just see that. These are high character guys that come from great families that do the right thing. So, yeah, I definitely think that feels like it's the next level of Dodgers scouting. We can see what you can do. We can look at your prospect rankings and we can try to find the hit tools, the run, and look at all the skill sets, 5-tool, 6-tool play. But it's that 6th tool, right? It's the intangibles, the mental makeup. And I think they look at that as saying, okay, we're going to get a guy that it's raw, but the work ethic is there because the character is there.
Right. Yeah, and we already know there's been a couple character issues we've seen. I don't think they want to get burned by that again. I think every player that's going to come through is going to get scrutinized.
Tim, it's an investment, right? They're investing in these guys.
It is, yeah. Yeah, because it's not just that bonus. It's all the time. It's also taking someone else's opportunity away to go, no, we're going to go with this player. We're going to, they feed them well. At Rancho, they get 2 meals. Yeah, they get lunch, and they either take dinner or take dinner home or eat it there. It's all cooked. There's a chef out there in his big old truck. It's a big old food truck, and they're cooking the food for those gentlemen. And the housing and all that stuff. They're putting a lot of time and money. The coaching staff. I don't know what the ratio is of coaches at spring training to players, but it seems like it's like 1 coach for every 4 players. It seems like it's outrageously good.
And guess what, hey, Tim, that doesn't show up on the CBT, right? I mean, it's another example of
thank God.
The Dodgers, they're using every single resource they possibly can to build a winner. I don't think that gets said enough. You think the Oakland A's are doing that? No, they're not. So when these guys emerge, they get the opportunity. That's why they hit the ground running. That's why you get a Bobby Miller, a James Albin, guys that are able to have success early on. So, yeah, I mean, you can't really say enough about this Dodgers farm system, and you got to just thank the baseball gods above for the Guggenheim group based on what we saw with the Frank McCourt regime. And really, I think this Dodgers team, if they win it this year, great. If they don't, they're going to keep winning, and nothing is going to change. They are going to get multiple World Series in the next 10, 20 years just because they're knocking on the door each and every year. And that's really the only thing that you can try to do in Major League Baseball. And that's just the reality, right?
Exactly. And you said it earlier. It is house money this year. I always expect the Dodgers to win the World Series, and I won't believe anything different. However, if for some reason things go south this year, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to learn a lot about themselves and what they need to work on, whether it's physically or, again, up here. And it's mostly up here, right? That's where the big stage will go. Hey, Madison Bumgarner didn't get to be better out there. Everyone else would slow down a little bit and weren't as good because he kept the same level. Same with Jeter and all these guys that always excel at the playoff level. Walker, Effin Buehler, right? Same level and everyone else goes down a bit. So they're at that level. So they got to learn to do that. The more guys you have doing that, the more parades we have.
Yeah, and look, you think of things from the prospect level, and from what you said right there, you said there's a lot of guys that are going to learn something about themselves. I think about from the GM level. I think the Dodgers are going to learn something about these players and how it's going to affect their roster construction. So I think everyone wins as a whole. I'm ready to get excited, man. I mean, we're getting close. We're kind of in the dog days right now. It feels like the dance is a couple of weeks, but we already have our tuxedo. We got everything we need for the dance, and we're just waiting, right? It's just about waiting and kind of just getting everything we can over these final 2 weeks to best prepare for that postseason run. But, Tim, we can't thank you enough for joining us here on Dodgers Dugout. We appreciate all the insight, all your expertise on all things Dodger baseball, but specifically prospects. If you guys want to know everything about the Dodgers of tomorrow, the future stars, head over to Dodgers2080.com. Follow Mr. Tim Rogers at Tim Rogers 2080 over on the X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. My name is Doug McCann. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Also subscribe to Tim's channel, Dodgers 2080. We'll drop the link down below so you won't miss a thing about this Dodgers stars of tomorrow. Until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. Now let's...